In the age of emperors and empires, wars were often waged on the back of enormous, powerful war horses, bred for size and intimidation. These were the heavyweights, capable of carrying an armored knight into the thundering chaos of battle. But one of the most legendary war horses in history was no giant. He was a small, grayish white Arabian stallion who would become the trusted companion of the most powerful man in Europe. He wasn't the biggest horse on the battlefield. Far from it. Standing at just over 14 hands, many would have overlooked him. Yet this compact Arabian stallion would carry an emperor through the thick of Europe's most defining battles and live to tell the tale. This is the incredible story of Marengo, the little horse whose heart and grit became a legend of the Napoleonic Wars. To understand the legend of Marengo, you first have to understand his master, Napoleon Bonaparte. By all accounts, Napoleon was a notoriously bad rider. He was known for his sloppy posture, slouching and sliding around so much he supposedly wore out his pants at an alarming rate. He held the reins loosely and steered more with his body than any formal skill. One contemporary even described his riding style as that of a butcher. Because of this, Napoleon didn't need a fiery, temperamental beast. He needed a mount that was exceptionally reliable, smart, and steady under pressure. While European cavalry often favored large, powerful chargers, Napoleon had a thing for smaller, agile Arabian horses. He'd been impressed by their speed and incredible stamina during his campaign in Egypt. These desert born horses had a rare combination of courage and a calm demeanor that made them perfect for a rider who needed his horse to be a rock solid extension of his own will. Napoleon eventually built a personal stable of around 130 horses, many of them gray Arabs, just like his eventual favorite. In 1799, Battle of Abuki in Egypt, a 6-year-old Arabian stallion with a grayish-white coat was brought to France. He was small for a war horse, standing at just 14.1 hands and about 57 inches tall, but what he lacked in size, he more than made up for in spirit and endurance. This horse, likely bred at the prestigious El Nasiri stud, caught the emperor's eye. He was a perfect fit for Napoleon's needs. His smaller, compact build offered stability, and his steady temperament meant he could be trusted in the chaos of battle. Soon he would be branded with the crowned N of the imperial stable, making him for a life of both prestige and peril. While French stable records don't actually mention a horse by his famous name, the legend that grew around him is undeniable. It's widely believed he was a horse named Ali, later renamed to celebrate a historic victory. Joining Napoleon's personal stable wasn't a life of peaceful grazing. It was a baptism by fire. Napoleon's horses were put through a brutal training regimen designed to make them fearless. Trainers would fire guns next to their heads, clang swords together, and wave flags in their faces. Drums would thunder, trumpets would blare, and fireworks would explode nearby. Some accounts even mention trainers driving dogs between the horses' legs to desensitize them completely. The goal was to create a horse so steady that, as one observer noted, a sack of potatoes could ride it into battle. They were trained not to flinch at the smell of gunpowder or the horrific sights and sounds of combat. This was critical, as a spooked horse could mean death for its rider. For Napoleon, who had to be visible to his troops to command his army, a reliable mount was a matter of life, death, and the fate of an empire. This little Arabian stallion endured it all, emerging as a calm steed Napoleon needed for the wars to come. The horse's legend truly began on June 14th, 1800, near the village of Marengo in Italy. Napoleon's forces were ambushed by the Austrians and were on the verge of a crushing defeat. By mid afternoon, the French were retreating, but in a stunning reversal, fresh reinforcements arrived, allowing Napoleon to launch a counterattack that won the day. The small Arabian carried him through the entire chaotic battle, and in its honor, Napoleon renamed his faithful horse Marengo. From then on, Marengo was the emperor's shadow. He was there at the decisive victory at Austerlitz in 1805, the trumpet at Jena Arstead in 1806, and the bloody Battle of Wagram in 1809. His endurance was the stuff of legends. He was known for carrying the emperor on grueling 80-mile gallops that he could complete in just 5 hours. Over his long career, legend says he was wounded 8 times, yet never once through his famously clumsy rider. While the average warhorse in Napoleon's cavalry didn't last long, Marengo's service stretched for over a decade. In 1812, Napoleon launched his most ambitious and ultimately disastrous campaign, the invasion of Russia. Marengo was one of the 52 horses chosen for the emperor's personal use on this fateful journey. The campaign was a nightmare. The brutal Russian winter and scorched earth tactics decimated the Grand Armée. One of the hundreds of thousands of horses that marched into Russia, very few returned. During the horrific retreat from Moscow, Napoleon's stables were raided by Russian Cossacks. Yet amidst the chaos, starvation, and freezing temperatures that claimed so many, Marengo survived. He not only survived the raid, but endured the entire desperate retreat from Russia, a testament to his incredible resilience. His survival against such impossible odds was nothing short of miraculous, and cemented his status as a living legend. June 18, 1815, the fields of Waterloo, Napoleon, having returned from exile, made his last desperate gamble to reclaim his empire, and for one final time Marengo carried him into battle. By now he was 22 years old, an advanced age for any horse, let alone a war horse. But he was still the emperor's choice. Throughout the day, as French, British, and Persian forces clashed, Napoleon commanded his army from Marengo's back. But by day's end, the battle was lost. As the French army broke and fled, Napoleon was forced to abandon his horse. Marengo was reportedly found and exhausted by an English officer, Lord Petre. Recognizing the imperial brand of the horse's flank, Lord knew he had captured a remarkable prize. The war horse of the defeated emperor, Marengo, was taken as a trophy of war. Marengo's fighting days were over, but his story wasn't. Brought to England, he was put on display in London, where huge crowds, fascinated by the fallen emperor, flocked to see the famous stallion. He was later sold to Lieutenant Colonel John Angerstein. An attempt was made to put him to stud, but at 27 he was likely too old, and the effort was unsuccessful. The little Arabian who had charged across the battlefields of Europe spent his final years in a quiet retirement in the English countryside. He lived to the astonishing age of 38, dying in 1831, outliving the master he had so faithfully served by a full decade. If you found this story of survival and loyalty incredible, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with fellow history lovers. What other unlikely heroes of history should I cover next? Let me know in the comments below. After Marengo's death, his legacy took on a physical form. His skeleton was preserved, and after passing through other hands, was given to the state. Today, the skeleton of the undersized stallion stands in London's National Army Museum, a tangible link to a legendary past. His front hooves were bizarrely turned into souvenirs. One became a silver-mounted inkwell, while another was made into a snuff box. While some historians question whether one horse could have possibly served in so many campaigns, the skeleton, bearing the marks of a hard lived life, is a powerful symbol. Whether he was one horse or a composite of Napoleon's many gray Arabians, Marengo came to represent the incredible endurance of his breed and stands as a memorial for the hundreds of thousands of horses lost in the Napoleonic Wars. He was the unlikely hero, the small horse with a colossal heart, who carried an emperor to glory and galloped his way into the pages of history.